All right, we start with one of the big stories this hour. President Cyril Ramaphosa has, in terms of Section 174, subsection 3 of the Constitution, appointed current Deputy Chief Justice Mandisa Maya. We're joined by Judges Matters Mbekezeli Benjamin to get their reaction on this story. Good evening, Mbekezeli. So many had stated that it was only a matter of time before she's appointed, but it has now been official. The President has issued that statement, appointing her effective from the 1st of September. Your reaction?
Good evening, Funde. Good evening to the viewers. We as Judges Matter are obviously excited to see the prospect of a new Chief Justice for South Africa, a first woman Chief Justice for that matter. And it's quite significant and symbolic that it comes a few days before we celebrate Women's Month in the 30th year of our democracy. It's a wonderful occasion and a wonderful development. We obviously look forward to working with Justice Maya and holding her accountable at the same time.
I can see with just your smile that indeed it's a significant moment and one that would make many people quite happy. But it's 30 years into our democracy, and many are saying it's more significant now that it's happening. But what does this really mean for transformation? What message does this appointment send?
Well, it sends a powerful message, Mfundo, because if we look back just 30 years ago in 1994, there were about 156 judges in our courts. And of those 156, only 2 were women. And so to have 30 years later, almost 45% of our judiciary being made up of women, and significant number of those being black women, and now the Chief Justice is a black woman, it is significant. It shows that we as a country have made a lot of progress in helping the judiciary reflect the diversity of South Africa. And actually, the judiciary now complies with the Constitution more than it did in 1994, because the Constitution is very clear that the judiciary must broadly look like the gender and racial composition of our country. And so on a transformative basis, it is quite significant.
You say you celebrate her appointment, but you're looking forward to holding her accountable. What would you like to see her change within the judiciary?
Well, there are significant changes that she needs to pay attention to. Currently, we know there is a huge shortage in the number of judges we have in our courts. That should be perhaps priority number 1, to make sure that we have enough judges who are in our court and who are able to serve the public. But at the same time, we know that just last week, the Minister of Justice announced a 13% budget cut to the judiciary. That means the resources allocated to the judiciary are even less than they were a year ago. And so that means the Chief Justice would have to work quite closely with the Minister to rectify that situation, because, sorry, excuse me, I have a cold. In as much as we might have enough judges, but if we don't have the resources for them to do their job, then we might as well not have that many judges. But the other priority is to make sure that the JSC continues on this reform process. We know that Chief Justice Zondo started changing how the JSC works in terms of having a criteria in place. Perhaps the last remaining thing that needs to be fixed is having a code of conduct for commissioners. That is something that will fall on Justice Maya, and she will have to champion. And at the same time, we know that the system to hold judges accountable hasn't been working as fast as we would expect it to be. And so we hope that Justice Maya, coming with her experience as the acting chairperson of the Judicial Conduct Committee, she will also pay attention to that to make sure that complaints against judges are dealt with as quickly as possible.
The Deputy Chief Justice had presented a comprehensive plan on caseload management, at least in the Apex Court, so that they are able to deliver judgments timeously. Do you think that that is a priority now, that she must probably address quite quicker as well, because there's always been a concern around the period of time it takes before these judgments are actually delivered?
Yes, absolutely. She does need to fix the more systemic issues that are facing the Constitutional Court. Over the last couple of months, it has sort of improved in the rate at which it delivers judgment. So the period from which the judgment the case is heard to the date of the judgment, that has improved somewhat, but there still needs to be more structural adjustment or structural fixing of the Constitutional Court. Because as we speak right now, it is inundated with work. There are only 11 justices to carry that work. So there needs to be a mechanism that will ensure that the court is able to deal with its cases much faster. So it is still a priority. The other priority is, of course, to boost the research capacity of the court and how the court administers its jurisprudence. So that is something that the Chief Justice will need to lead on as well.
Mbekezeli, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's Judges Matters Mbekezeli Benjamin speaking to us. A very significant moment in our constitutional democracy. Deputy Chief Justice Mandisa Maya has been appointed to the position of Chief Justice effective from the 1st of September.